Good evening. I'm Scott Binsack, and thank you for joining me. It is February 9th, 2018. Right now, there's breaking news that Donald Trump has refused to release the Democratic memo, which is the answer to the Republican memo, and we are now caught up in this ridiculous battle continuing. I want to remind everybody, MFA is not for the left or the right. We are the truth in the middle. Donald Trump refusing to release this, allegedly because of top secret information being put in there and confidential information and has to be redacted, is a load of crap. Okay? The Republicans rushed to put out this BS memo on one-sided and now is refusing the Democratic side to come out. And both parties, it should be fair that both sides have their say. I also want to report that things are getting so bad between the left and the right on the Hill, okay, that they're talking about putting in a divider between the Democratic side and the Republican side in the House. In other words, they're going to put up a plexiglass partition between the Democratic side and the Republican side because people are fighting that bad. People are fighting that bad. That's horrendous that they're talking about putting up a divider between the left and the right sides in the House so that people don't attack each other. This is the madness going on in this country and the division that I believe 100% Donald Trump has created. That is ridiculous. At the same time, you have the Rob Porter cover-up going on at the White House, and I do not believe that Donald Trump defended this man after he has abused two of his wives. General Kelly covered it up, and General Kelly's time is limited in the White House, I'm being told. I do not believe that it's shocking to me that this president, but I shouldn't say it is shocking to me because the man has his own tons of sexual allegations, sexual abuse allegations against women, against him. And if you think that's okay, that this man was allowed to stay in the White House, have an affair with Hope Hicks, see and have top secret clearance, okay, top security clearance, and still not be vetted. Jared Kushner's not vetted. There are numerous people in there that do not have their clearance confirmed by the FBI almost a year and change after Donald Trump has been elected. This is a circus. It's a complete circus. And now we've come out, which I will show you later with the world news, that we don't care about ISIS in Syria. What did I tell you all? We want land. Okay? And now we're going to war with Turkey, just so you know. As we speak, it's happening. This is madness. This country is out of control. While people argue on social media about memos back and forth, should Rob Porter have been fired? Should he not have been fired? For real? The man should have never been in there to begin with. Okay? People have lost their minds. Totally lost their minds. Tonight I'm going to be bringing you a story about, before we get into the world news, about SEAL Team 6 murders one of their own, and it looks that way. Like SEAL Team 6, the same team that took out Osama Bin Laden and then strangely shot him and not kept him alive, which you have to ask yourself why. You would want to keep Osama Bin Laden alive because of the information that he has. Instead, we killed him. Then we sent him out to sea with alleged burial at sea. Snowden has come out and others have stated that they believe. So Snowden said that Osama Bin Laden is hiding in the Bahamas. Seeing with the recent CIA files, the Kennedy files being released, that we knew where Hitler was down in Argentina and other places, I believe that the Osama Bin Laden murder, taking him out, was nothing but a false flag and totally set up that way. Part of that team is accused of murdering one of their own. So I'll be bringing you SEAL Team 6, the story on SEAL Team 6 that we believe that they murdered one of their own. I want to go into what's trending on Facebook first, as I started to tell you I was going to start to do. Currently, at the top, trending on Facebook, Kansas scrambles to change rules after 6 teens enter governor's race. There's no rules that say a teenager can enter the governor's race, and 6 teenagers have entered the governor's race for Kansas. Bravo to them. There is no law that defines the qualification for governor of Kansas. A half dozen high school boys have declared they're running. Great, got to give it to them. Michigan State University to fire former medical dean over Larry Nassar scandal. Larry Nassar's got a complete scumbag in my mind. I just can't stand pedophilia, rape, or the above. It is just, this man should not even be in jail. He should have just murdered this guy. You mean, put him to death. MSU intern President John Engler said the first step has been taken to revoke the tenure of Dr. William Strample, who is the former medical dean over the Larry Nassar scandal. FDA investigates after report exposes euthanasia. This stupid retainer in my mouth. I apologize, guys. FDA to investigate after report exposes euthanasia. I can't say it with the thing in my mouth. Drug in dog food. This is ridiculous. Washington, New Year's Eve 2016 was no celebration for Nikki Mail and her family. Nobody should have gone through what we went through. The dog food that the dog ate was exposed or contains euthanasia drug in the dog food. Very horrible experience these people went through. This is a serious story. 3 police officers shot near Atlanta. Alleged gunman dead. 3 officers have been shot in rural areas southeast of Atlanta, and the alleged gunman is dead. People confirm. President's daily brief. Oral report to reading daily intel brief. President Trump has declined to read his daily brief and instead having officials orally brief him on certain issues. Good job, Mr. President. You can't take the time out to read your daily brief, and you need to have people pick out certain things for you that they think are key. This guy's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. All I can tell you is we're in trouble. We are in deep trouble. Both sides. Rotten to the core. We are in trouble. Spirit Airlines. Airline told me to flush pet hamster. Whoa. A Florida woman says an airline told her to flush her hamster down a toilet at the airport because the emotional support rodent wasn't allowed to fly with her. Wow. Crazy. Yeah, okay, sorry, you can't take your hamster that's this big, but you can take dogs on the plane and cats, but you can't take a hamster that's this big on the plane. Flush it down the toilet. Okay, Spirit Airlines, epic fail. Amazon, to launch delivery service that would vie with FedEx and UPS. Amazon has taken over the world, and it will be the largest corporation on this planet, basically. Within a matter of 5 years. And one thing about Amazon, everybody thinks it's creating jobs. It's actually taking jobs because Amazon is all going robotic, computerized, i.e. AI intelligence, etc. This is a very interesting story. Number 3 official to Justice Department is stepping down. Official Rachel Brand was widely seen. The most likely successor to Rod Rosenstein, who oversees the inquiry of Russian influence. Now, let's pay attention to this. I'm going to explain to you what this is. Okay? They took her out, and I'm explaining to you. Rod Rosenstein's going to be fired. Okay? So she would have taken Rosenstein's place. They're taking her out first. She got a lucrative job offer, and my team and my sources already told me that this was deliberately done to take her out of there, an offer that couldn't be refused from where? Walmart. So that the next person in line can come in who is Trump's boy, okay, who will fire Mueller. Pay attention. Pay attention. This is a deliberate chess move to get to Mueller, and Rosenstein will be out very shortly. Okay? And as I told you, this president is sinking fast. This is worse than Nixon. Worse than Nixon, and now you have this other Rob Porter scandal going on at the White House, the Kelly situation. This is a disaster. It's a circus. Washington has become a circus, and the United States is a laughing stock to people of other countries around the world. This is not, Donald Trump runs this place like a reality TV show. This is not a reality TV show. This is America. And we are trusted to operate that way. This is like the most ridiculous crap. But this is a deliberate move right here. Deliberate move. No, this is not opening the door for Trey. Yes, it could be for Trey Gowdy as well, yes. But he's not going in there. Trey Gowdy most likely will not be going in there. He wants a judgeship. Okay? This is like ridiculous. Okay? I'm telling you now. Rosenstein's going to be gone. Mueller will be fired. And this is going to cause, wait till you see the stock market go. Wait till you see the chaos and madness that this is going to create. Hold on to your, listen to what I'm telling you. I will repeat this again. Hold on to your fucking seats, because I'm going to tell you something. You're going to see such a constitutional crisis in this country and war at the same time. And complete chaos with Donald Trump and team in the middle, like, just watch what I tell you. Just watch what I tell you. Every day, something new. This was the bombshell today. And now Donald Trump refusing to release the other memo, which is a given. I knew he was going to pull that crap. Okay, here we go. Ex-SEAL. I like this story. Very, very good story here. Ex-SEAL who fired Bin Laden. Why does it say fired Bin Laden? Ex-SEAL who fired Bin Laden? Criticized Trump's military parade. The former Navy SEAL, who claims he fired the shot that killed Osama Bin Laden, is blasting President Donald Trump for a military parade. Bravo. Bravo. He thought he shot Osama Bin Laden. He didn't shoot Osama Bin Laden, and we're going to get into that. Okay? This, I applaud, because we do not need a military parade. We are not a dictatorship. Add all the rest of this crap on top of it, and you have a circus, a complete circus every day, night in this White House, while Donald Trump sits back and eats Big Macs and French fries and drinks Diet Coke and lays in a tanning bed. For real? To the point now where they want to put in division, a partition divider in the House to separate Democrats and Republicans from hurting each other and attacking each other. You hear what I'm telling you? We've become a dictatorship, not a democratic republic. I don't believe Bin Laden is dead anywhere. Okay? I stick with the Snowden story, and he may not be in the Bahamas anymore after Snowden said that, but he was kept alive. He's been alive. He was Osama Bin Laden was a created false flag bad guy. Understand what I'm telling you? He was a created bad guy. All those films and all that crap you saw was all propaganda from the Pentagon, sent to news agencies and the like. That man sitting in a little shack, okay, in front of an old box TV was not Osama bin Laden. And that's why they even gave him a burial at sea, which is against all Muslims and all the above. It's a load of crap. It's a load of crap. And I'm surprised people can't even figure it out. When I get into the next part of this story, and he was also CIA. That is correct. Osama bin Laden, CIA. Saddam Hussein, CIA. Okay? Fact, we built up Saddam Hussein like you would not believe. He was a CIA operative working for us against Iran. Okay? Everybody sold him everything. They wasted his money. They sold him shit weapons, did whatever they could. He was like a bank. Here, buy all this shit. We'll help fund you. You keep fighting Iran, who we hate, and no problem. The minute Saddam Hussein got too big for himself, okay, and we needed a war and we wanted to take over the Middle East, and now the truth is coming out with our actions in Syria that we're not here for ISIS. We're going to section off Syria. They just come out and say it now. So I want you to remember that. They have lied to you. They have lied to the American people about Syria and ISIS. Their real main goal, like I've said and many others have said, is a very large plan to cut up the Middle East, split it up. Us keep some, Israel keeps some, Saudi Arabia keeps some, etc., and cut out the rest. This is the problem. Turkey sees this too. So you have this. This is bad. Okay. You have Turkey fighting against U.S.-backed forces now, and the U.S. forces are there around them as well with the Kurds. You got Israel firing in and attacking Syria and Iran, Iranian troops in Iran. Okay, and Syria's air defense took out most of Syria's missiles, just so you know that. You have Russia with permanent bases in Syria, and Assad has signed over most of Syria to Russia. In other words, they have the right to operate within that country wherever they want and to control it. Russia's building now permanent military base facilities in Syria. You have a cluster of countries fighting each other for a piece of this land, and chaos based on false chemical attacks. You name it. There's over 600,000 people dead while asshole countries battle for land and resources. I mean, please remember what you're hearing here, okay? Because it's true. This isn't a game. Real lives, real people are dying. Real chess moves are being made, and it involves human beings. People's lives are being completely destroyed because of madmen. The Netanyahus, the Trumps, the Saudi prince. We could go on the line. And then you have gangster Putin, Russia, which I got to tell you something. Russia at least kills ISIS. Russia at least goes after and does not back ISIS. Okay? Or back any of the above of these groups, these terrorist groups. And as I showed you the other night, we shot down a Russian, using an American-made missile. They shot down a Russian jet. And tensions are heating up over there big time. So you have all these armies, which we'll get into with the world news, usually, as I do tonight. I may not do a Syria report. But this is what's going on. But good for this man to stand up to Donald Trump. Okay? Good story. Last thing trending, Fox removes darker, grayer, different Olympics column. Not a big deal. Fox News has taken down a column on its website penned by executive editor John Moody that argued the U.S. Olympic Committee, what do we got here? Argued that the U.S. Olympic Committee wants to change the game's motto to darker, grayer, different. Okay. Ridiculous story. Big deal. And that's trending on Facebook. Okay. Whatever you say. No problem. I want to get into this SEAL Team 6 story. Green Beret death prompts probe of SEAL Team 6 unit that took out Osama Bin Laden. The death of Army Staff Sergeant Logan Melgar, allegedly at the hands of his colleagues, prompted a deep probe of SEAL Team 6, the special unit that killed Osama bin Laden. Melgar was killed in Bamako, Mali, where he was part of an anti-terrorism team. SEAL Team 6, the famed special fighting force that was responsible for taking out al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden on the Pakistan-Afghan border in May 2011, has become the subject of comprehensive military audit and investigation, sources told The Intercept. The probe was initiated following the criminal investigation of SEAL Team 6 members Anthony Deldoff and Adam Matthews, prime suspects in the murder of Melgar, 34, young man, horrible, who was staff sergeant of the 3rd Special Forces Group and shared embassy housing with the 2 SEAL commandos. As the story goes, in the course of an argument, this is what they claim. In the course of an argument, Deldoff, a former martial arts competitor, placed Melgar in a deadly chokehold, causing the victim to become unconscious. Deldoff and Matthew reportedly took Melgar to a medical clinic when efforts to revive him failed. Melgar was pronounced dead on arrival. As far as possible, motive, pay attention, for the murder. Anonymous sources told the New York Times that Melgar may have suspected Deldoff and Matthews of stealing from military funds used to pay informants. Before I continue, the U.S. military, especially the special forces and that, have access to tons of American U.S. cash. A lot of it even that they're still using that was seized from the Iraqi war from Saddam Hussein. Billions of it, tractor-trailer loads of cash were seized, and gold from Saddam. Another reason why we took him out. How this story goes, and I'm going to continue to follow up on this investigation. What I'm seeing is that these two guys from other news, and I'll go through that, were stealing money from this fund, and this Melgar found out about it, and they were afraid he was going to rat them out. And they killed him, saying that they were just practicing and training, and that he was, put in a chokehold, and they didn't mean to, but they ended up killing him. An American service member who knew Sergeant Melgar said he was under the impression that the sergeant had stumbled onto some sort of money skimming scheme involving Navy commandos, the Times reported. A retired senior enlisted sailor who served in the SEAL Team 6 said Sergeant Melgar discovered the scheme and threatened to report the Navy commandos to the authorities. That sounds like a hit and take out to me, and they would blame it on a chokehold that they didn't know. And if you're a martial arts trainer, you know when you can just choke someone out and knock them unconscious, as well as the difference between that and holding them in that position to kill them. The Times, citing interviews with troops and their families, speculated whether Melgar's death was due to a personal dispute amongst housemates gone horribly wrong, to whether Sergeant Melgar had stumbled upon some illicit activity the SEALs were involved with and they silenced him. Whatever the case may be, SEAL Team 6 has been embroiled in its fair share of scandals ever since May 2, 2011, when the special unit killed Osama Bin Laden at his compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. Following the highly publicized operation, a number of questions began swirling about Bin Laden's killing. Pay attention. For example, why didn't the SEAL members try to take the al-Qaeda chief alive, considering the treasure trove of information that he could have provided? Also, why did SEAL Team 6 bury Bin Laden's body at sea, as reported, since such a burial was at odds with Islamic tradition? In any case, the trials and tribulation of the legendary kill team did not end at Bin Laden's cave. On August 6, 2011, 25 members of the SEAL Team 6, this is very bizarre. On August 6, 2011, 25 members of SEAL Team 6 perished when their helicopter went down during a military operation on the outskirts. Sounds like to me that they used SEAL Team 6 to take out the fake Bin Laden and then got rid of him, right after this. And, I'm telling you now, this sounds like a complete and utter, I know it was a false flag. I'm telling you, I sense it, I know it. Bin Laden was not killed in that operation. The evidence does not point to it. And then you go and kill, strangely, 25 members of a SEAL Team 6 perished when their helicopter went down during a military operation. Very bizarre. 25 members on a top secret mission just of the whole SEAL Team 6. You got to ask yourself these questions. The tragedy marked the single greatest loss of life for the U.S.-led coalition in Afghanistan of the war since 2001. And it just happened to be SEAL Team 6. Yes, cover up just like Chris Stevens. Very well said. That is a story I covered a lot about Chris Stevens. He was murdered. Okay, Obama and Hillary Clinton murdered Christopher Stevens in Libya. Fact. Telling you, that whole Libyan Benghazi nightmare, I don't even want to revisit it. Complete nightmare. And they should be brought to justice for that, and that should be fully exposed. Now, those kind of things with Obama and Hillary Clinton, they should have been put in jail a long time ago and exposed for treason and the like. Fully agree. But one side, back and forth, it's horrible. This is a circus. I'm telling you. The political circus is bad. It's divided. It's causing division in this country, and it is just getting worse by the day. It is just getting worse by the day. So, keep that in mind, okay? Keep an open mind about this, that this is how bad things are getting. And the White House every day is more like a soap opera and a reality TV show than that of being who we are to be. that of the top country, superpower in the world, and acting accordingly. I want to get into the world news now.
This was a patriotic celebration at home and a display of North Korea's military might for those abroad.
Our army defends us and keeps us happy. It's our people's army, just like its name. So this Army Founding Day is a great day for all of us.
Thursday was the 70th anniversary of the founding of the North Korean Army. The military parade in Pyongyang comes after the world witnessed advances in the isolated country's weapons program last year.
Now, is that what you need to see in the United States right there? A military hardware parade and all the above? No. We are supposed to be above this. We are above this as America and as a democratic republic. We do not have military parades. Dictators do. Dictators do. Communist countries do. And Russia does theirs to honor their, whatever day, but Russia doesn't even need to do a nuclear parade. Russia is a nuclear powerhouse. Don't kid yourself. Military powerhouse. And even back in the day, from all my investigation dealing with people with missile bases that we're buying for our Atlas cities, our missiles didn't even work. And this comes right from, what Pentagon officials, people who built and were authorized these bases, and people who built on these bases, helped construct these bases and this missile system that we used to have, the Atlas. Doesn't work. It didn't work. And this is not what we need in this country. We don't need military parades. We don't need sex scandals in the White House on a regular basis. We don't need tons of debt. Okay? We don't need division. We don't need everybody arguing and treating themselves, horribly. Now, like I said, they want to put a divider in the House so that the Democrats are on one side and the Republicans are on another. Give me a break. Horrible, ridiculous. People should be outraged in this country. Instead, you have far-right people supporting this madman, and he is a madman, and this will fall apart. And that's why I'm so adamant about it. I'm so mad at myself for ever supporting this man. Sorry to tell you, very angry myself.
Leader Kim Jong-un praised what he called, quote, a world-class military with the most powerful force despite punishing sanctions.
I would say that it's a show of defiance, but it's a show of modest and well-measured defiance. The North Korean government wants to emphasize that they are a nuclear and missile power and likely to remain such in the foreseeable future, no matter what.
This year's Army Parade wasn't broadcast live on state TV, and no new high-profile weapons were displayed. The toned-down approach was likely a response to criticism of the show of military force on the eve of the opening ceremony of the Pyeongchang Olympics. With North Koreans participating in an unprecedented way at these games, South Koreans are hoping the only suspense and drama will be during competition.
I feel very proud that a global event like the Olympics is taking place in South Korea.
Kim Jong-un's sister is expected to attend the opening ceremony, in which North and South Korean athletes plan to march under a unified flag. She'll be the first member.
And now what's breaking on this, as I'm sure many of you have already seen, what's breaking on this is that Vice President Pence did not look at Kim Jong-un's sister at all, and it was a disgrace and blah, 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 blah. I have to say, at least the North and the South are talking. They're operating jointly in Olympics. If you can find peace somewhere, okay, over war, then do it, okay? Because North Korean people themselves don't know any better. Those poor people have been trapped under this type of leadership for decades and decades. They don't know they don't even know anything. They only know that Kim to them is a god, and his family, and his reign of evil madness. Those innocent people over there don't know any better. And I'm not making excuses for them, but they don't. They do not. And to go to war with North Korea will jeopardize, the South Koreans and our own military. even if it's just preemptive strikes against Kim's nuclear sites, you think Kim's going to sit back and not do anything? He's going to take it as a full-out invasion, a full-out attack. Complete madness.
Of the ruling Kim family to step foot on South Korean soil since the Korean War in the 1950s. From government leaders to people on the street, there's optimism that the Pyeongchang Games will help rebuild the ties between the two Koreas. It's already being called the Peace Olympics. Natasha Ganem, Al Jazeera, Gangneung, South Korea.
When the waters rise, they do so rapidly, and they're ruthless. There's just time to save what's essential.
I saved my 2 nephews, but then I couldn't get back. The water reached 7 kilometers from there. I haven't heard anything from my sister.
More than 100 members of the Chorote indigenous community left everything behind when they fled Santa Victoria, evacuated to this school in the nearby town of Aguaray. They're being fed, but they want to go home.
We're ready to go back, but we're scared the water has filtered through. Losing our things would be very sad. We spent our lives there. Our children grew up there.
Carlos is one of the few who risks staying behind.
There's nothing to eat today. It's been 2 days since we last ate.
Carlos is waiting for his neighbours to return, which they will when this, the only road into town, is repaired. The waters are subsiding. These defences and constant vigilance saved Santa Victoria this time. But life here for the mostly indigenous communities is precarious. They're returning home, but wondering when the floods will come again. These Toba were not so lucky. Their community, La Corvita, flooded and is now unreachable. But they were all rescued.
I have to say, I give credos to these journalists that go out to these remote areas and these third world countries and bring the news to the world. And most people don't pay attention to these stories. And the reason why I share a lot of world news is because we live on one planet, regardless of what country we're in, and the planet is changing drastically. Okay? Drastically changing. And you're not seeing this on our mainstream media on a regular basis, explaining to you how drastically this planet is changing, from its weather to you name it. Okay? It must be shown and looked at as a whole. We are one Earth. One Earth. We might be separate countries, but we are one Earth and all human beings with the same DNA.
By the Provincial Civil Defence Force, working with police, the Army and the Red Cross.
It's not about preventing emergencies anymore. The emergencies come by themselves. There's no way of stopping them. What we've got to do is reduce the risk, determine what the risk is, and be there.
It's a plan that works. While preparing for disaster is one way to deal with ever more frequent flooding and forest fires, some have other ideas.
The river is our mother. We are fishermen and we live from her. Now she's giving us a signal, telling us, children, think of your future. So we'll meet and decide whether to move away from here for the future of our children and grandchildren.
This is a harsh, infertile region. Eking out a living, keeping the community together, is insecure, unpredictable. The floods have made that challenge a whole lot more difficult. Daniel Schweimler, Al Jazeera, Santa Victoria, northern Argentina.
Fox News has obtained this counterterrorism report given to the UN Security Council on Al-Qaeda, which says as ISIS weakens, Al-Qaeda is still going strong. In fact, the report says Al-Qaeda is, quote, remarkably resilient and is actually stronger than ISIS in several regions of the world, including Yemen and Somalia. There are 3 major affiliates of Al-Qaeda we have to pay attention to. AQAP, based in Yemen, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. Despite military pressure, it remains the propaganda hub of the terror organization. The Al-Nusra Front, quote, remains one of the strongest and largest in Al-Qaeda. The report says that that group is recruiting more fighters in Syria as other groups like ISIS suffer major losses in that country. And the Al-Shabaab affiliate remains stronger than ISIS in Somalia and East Africa. In fact, the Al-Shabaab affiliate has tried to make inroads this past year in Kenya, Ethiopia, and as well as Djibouti. Sandra.
Brian, another report says the threat from ISIS is evolving.
That's right. This is a UN counterterrorism report that was also given to the Security Council, and it says that as ISIS has lost 97% of its territory in Iraq and in Syria, this group is now, for the first time, showing a willingness to work together with al-Qaeda. ISIS and al-Qaeda together.
They're
and
the
report
same
says
thing.
this is an emerging threat. Secondly, without territory, there is a fear that ISIS fighters will now enter other countries and act on their own as lone wolves or start their own cells. In fact, the report says, quote, identifying these potential returnees and relocators may prove challenging. ISIL has collected travel and identification documents from incoming fighters for potential use in future travel and has obtained several thousand blank Syrian passports. The UN Security Council right now is talking about these reports and talking about possible solutions moving forward. Sandra.
Brian Yanis at the UN Forum.
There were large protests on the streets of Jakarta 1 year ago, held by conservative groups accusing the city's Christian governor of blasphemy. Basuki Cahayapurnama was sentenced to 2 years in prison and lost his re-election bid. During a news conference in Jakarta, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights said this case shows strains of intolerance have made inroads into Indonesia's once liberal culture.
If Muslim societies expect others to fight against Islamophobia, we should be prepared to end discrimination at home too. Islamophobia is wrong. Discrimination on the basis of religious beliefs and color is wrong. Discrimination on the basis of sex.
Islamophobia may be wrong, but radical Islamic terrorism needs to be wiped out. Needs to be wiped out. And the problem is, our government, along with several other governments, create these terrorists, these cells, these organizations. We fund them, we arm them, and we back them. So we create the crisis for that to cause fear and control of the people, and the UN then is the world body, i.e. New World Order, to control all this, along with several other New World Order organizations.
Sexual orientation or any other status is wrong.
The High Commissioner has urged Indonesians to not move backwards on human rights and resist attempts to introduce new forms of discriminatory laws. Parliament is discussing a new proposal that outlaws gay relationships or any other forms of consensual sex between unmarried couples. He condemned a raid in Aceh in late January, where a police chief detained 12 people he suspected of being transgender women. He was filmed scolding them in front of an angry crowd, having them stripped of their shirts and having their hairs cut. While the police chief is under investigation for possible abuses, anti-gay protesters in Aceh came out in his defense. Aceh is Indonesia's only province that enforces Islamic law.
We are more and more eroding our own constitution. Our constitution guarantees
Everybody's
that all
constitution's
citizens from
eroding
whatever
across the
religion,
globe.
ethnic group, or any other difference are entitled to the same treatment. If one group in society becomes a victim, it means we have failed as a nation.
The High Commissioner was invited by the government to witness the progress the country has made in protecting people's rights. But human rights groups say there has been no improvement and Indonesia's human rights situation remains critical. It is seen as a bold move by Indonesia to invite the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights at a time when intolerance against minorities is growing. President Joko Widodo has campaigned on a platform for diversity, has been criticized for not speaking up in defense of all citizens of the country. Heading into elections next year, many here fear that hostilities against minorities will only increase. The government says the High Commissioner praised Indonesia for coming a long way in a short time and for being an example to other countries in the region, but it admits more needs to be done. Step Fasten, Al Jazeera, Jakarta.
W7 News. And for today's broadcast, we have a lot to talk about concerning the United States, Russia, China, as well as Israel, Syria, and Turkey. But I'd like to first talk about Russia and China's reaction to Trump's new nuclear strategy. Both nations have concerns, and TASS News Agency is reporting that the MP has warned that Trump's new nuclear doctrine raises the risk of an arms race. Here's that report. The content of the United States' new nuclear doctrine released on Friday causes deep disappointment in Moscow. The Russian Foreign Ministry stated that while just having a flick through the document, one can notice that its confrontational charge and anti-Russian focus stare in the face. We state with regret that the U.S. justifies its policy for a massive buildup of nuclear forces in an alleged increasing role of nuclear weapons in Russia's doctrines. We are accused of lowering a threshold of nuclear weapon use and some aggressive strategies. It has nothing in common with the actual state of affairs, the ministry stated. Certainly, we will be compelled to take into consideration the approaches introduced now by Washington and to take necessary steps in order to ensure our own security. Russia's foreign ministry pointed out that the eagerness to resort to nuclear weapons declared by the United States in order to discourage Russia's employment of its nuclear arsenal means an attempt to cast doubt on Russia's right to self-defense in repelling any aggression in situations critical for the state's existence. We would like to hope that Washington is still aware of how high is the degree of threat emerging when such doctrinal approaches are transferred into the field of practical military planning. It goes on further to report that Russia has urged the U.S. to join efforts to find solutions in the strategic
Another arms
field.
race, major.
We appeal to the United States to team up to look for solutions to the problems that have been accumulating in the field of strategic stability. Washington's new stance on nuclear weapons employment causes concern, says Russia's foreign ministry. Washington's de facto unlimited approach to use of nuclear weapons is alarming. They declare a possibility of the employment of nuclear weapons in extreme circumstances, which authors of the doctrine do not limit to merely military scenarios. Moreover, the notion of military scenarios is so blurred that the American planners might be enabled to view nearly any use of military force as a pretext for delivering a nuclear strike against those they believe to be aggressors. It goes on finally to state that the Pentagon stated that the nuclear weapons are likely to be deployed in case of an attack on the United States that may not come in the form of nuclear weapons. Military Times is reporting that China on Sunday criticized a U.S. government report that cast Beijing as a potential nuclear adversary and called on Washington to reduce its own much larger arsenal and join in promoting regional stability. A defense ministry statement said that China's nuclear arsenal is the minimum level required for security. It pledged never to be the first to use nuclear weapons under any circumstances. The sweeping U.S. nuclear strategy review issued on Friday said Washington wants to prevent Beijing from mistakenly concluding that any use of nuclear weapons, however limited, is acceptable. A ministry spokesman for China stated that the Chinese side expresses firm opposition to the report. We hope the U.S. will abandon a Cold War mentality and earnestly shoulder its special and prior responsibility for its own nuclear disarmament. The ruling Communist Party's military wing, the People's Liberation Army, has the world's fifth largest nuclear arsenal with 300 warheads, according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. The United States and Russia each have about 7,000 warheads, or about 20 times as many as Beijing. Beijing has
7,000 warheads. 7,000 warheads us and Russia have. 7,000 nuclear warheads. My God. Half the world would be destroyed. Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Has rattled Japan, South Korea, and Southeast Asian governments with increasingly assertive gestures and belligerent comments aimed at enforcing its claims to disputed islands and swathes of ocean. Just in December, China sent bombers and fighter planes to fly around Taiwan, the self-ruled island the communist mainland claims as its territory. The warplanes flew near South Korean and Japanese airspace, prompting Japan to dispatch fighter jets to intercept them. It goes on further to report that the Defense Ministry statement said global peace and development are irreversible trends and called on Washington to work with Beijing to jointly safeguard peace, stability, and prosperity in this region and the world. President Donald Trump's nuclear doctrine breaks with its predecessor predecessor Barack Obama by ending a push to reduce the role of nuclear weapons in U.S. military policy. In a written statement, Trump stated on Friday that U.S. strategy is designed to make use of nuclear weapons less likely, but Arms Control Group criticized it as reckless. Finally, it reports that Friday's report endorsed adhering to U.S. arms control agreements, including the new START treaty that limits the United States and Russia each to 1,550 strategic nuclear warheads on a maximum of 7 deployed launchers. The U.S. government says it has been in compliance since August and expects Moscow to comply by the deadline, which is Monday. The South China Morning Post is reporting that China is planning to use artificial intelligence to boost the thinking skills of nuclear submarine commanders. China is working to update the rugged old computer systems on nuclear submarines with artificial intelligence to enhance the potential thinking skills of commanding officers, says a senior scientist involved with the program. A submarine with AI-augmented brainpower not only would give China's large navy an upper hand in battle under the world's oceans, but would push applications of AI technology to a new level. Though a submarine has enormous power of destruction, its brain is actually quite small, says a researcher. While a nuclear submarine depends on the skill, experience, and efficiency of its crew to operate effectively, the demands of modern warfare could introduce variables that would cause even the smoothest run operation to come unglued. An AI decision support system with its own thoughts would reduce the commanding officer's workload and mental burden. The possibility of AI having a prominent role in nuclear submarines through the work of Chinese scientists is a milestone both for China and the technology. Since the first nuclear submarines appeared in the early 1950s, produced by the United States, they have ranked among the most sophisticated war machines. It can take as long as 2 decades for a nuclear sub to progress from an idea on a blueprint to the finished product, sliding down a slipway. But the sub's computer brains have generally been out of sync with their state-of-the-art image. It goes on further to report that by mimicking the workings of the human brain, the system can process a large amount of data. On a nuclear submarine, data could come from the Chinese Navy's rapidly increasing observation networks, the submarine's own sensors, or daily interactions with the crew. It goes on finally to report that if the system started to have its own way of thinking, we may have a runaway submarine with enough nuclear arsenals to destroy a continent. This is definitely a risk the authorities should consider when introducing AI to a sub. An AI-powered machine is still a machine. It does not have life. An AI system on a submarine, though sophisticated in many ways, would be similar to self-driving technology on some cars. You can shut it down and shift it to manual anytime. It would be the same on a nuclear submarine. And speaking of China, Breitbart is reporting that China has moved over 300,000 troops to the North Korean border. China is reportedly moving missile defense batteries and troops closer to its border with North Korea, a potential sign that Beijing anticipates either a large refugee wave north or a military disturbance triggered by the belligerence of the communist dictator Kim Jong-un. The South Korean newspaper Chosun Ilbo cited Radio Free Asia in a report Monday, stating that RFA had compiled evidence that China had late last year deployed another missile defense battery at an armored division in Heilong. The North Korean source in China speaking to RFA also noted that North Korea had observed the movement of 300,000 troops closer to the North Korean border and missile defense batteries near North Korean reservoirs by the Apnuk and Dumain rivers. The batteries would prevent the violent outpouring of those reservoirs into China in the event of an airstrike. On Friday, China's state-run People's Daily newspaper reported that
China knows that the U.S. is going to strike North Korea. Pay attention. They know. They know. They have intelligence agencies just like us and satellites and everything else. They know.
Beijing was also investigating and establishing nuclear monitoring stations throughout the world, but especially near North Korea, to more rapidly gather information about a potential airstrike. While carefully noting that detection is not targeted at any particular country, the newspaper noted that the planned 11 nuclear monitoring stations are responsible for detecting nuclear activities in neighboring countries, including North Korea. It goes on further to report that, taken in tandem with reports of military movements near North Korea, this development indicates concern that a major military or political event in North Korea will impact China significantly. We need to continue to keep an eye on North Korea. That situation can literally explode. And I will continue to keep you updated as these reports continue to be developed. But I'd like to move your attention next to the United States and Turkey. I have a report here from RT News as well as Express News. And both are reporting that Turkey has warned they will target U.S. troops in Syria for supporting Kurdish terrorists.
Okay. Turkey to target U.S. troops in Syria for supporting Kurdish terrorists. We are basically now going to be at war with Turkey because we're not going to stop supporting these Kurdish terrorists. Trust what I tell you. We're going to keep arming them and supporting them. And now Erdogan's in Syria. It's like everybody wants to go into Syria and do whatever they want. You have to feel bad. Honestly, Syria is being invaded from everybody, and everybody wants a piece of Syria. It's like maddening. Screw it. We're just going to go over there and go to war, and we're going to go after these people. We're going to go after this one. We're going to go after this one. We're going to go after that one. Now the U.S. has come out and say, nope, we just want the land. We're going to partition Syria, take it or leave it. For real? If someone came to the United States, another country came to the United States and said, hey, by the way, we want to take the East Coast, what would happen to them? So why is it okay for us and other countries to go into other countries like Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Libya, and just take whatever we want and roll out? I mean, think about what I'm telling you. It's ridiculous. Totally maddening.
A blunt message has been issued by Turkey to U.S. special forces working in Syria after Ankara warned that American troops could be targeted for supporting terrorists. U.S. troops are fighting alongside Kurds against
U.S. troops can be targeted for what? Supporting terrorists. And they're not lying. It's not propaganda. We support these terrorists.
President Assad's regime in Syria. However, Turkey considers the Kurdish forces as terrorists and have warned that U.S. troops may get caught in the crossfire, accusing the U.S. fighters to wearing terrorist clothes that may be hard to distinguish. Says
Erdogan states that the U.S. troops are wearing terrorist clothes, which there has been evidence. Okay, there is evidence that U.S. troops are dressing like ISIS and other like the Syrian-backed American army, things of that nature, that it's really U.S. troops with them. And it's true. It's maddening. And all the funds, you're funding this. U.S. taxpaying dollars, black budgets are funding all this crap.
As the Deputy Prime Minister of Turkey, warning anyone fighting alongside the Kurds is our target. He added that there is no chance that we will make a distinction at this point between the Kurds and the U.S. fighters. The threats from Ankara are likely to cause concern of conflict between the two nations. Should U.S. soldiers be hit by Turkish forces, there is a danger America may retaliate and cause the outbreak of a new war between the two historic allies. Since World War II, the pair have supported each other in their fight against terrorism. The U.S. and Turkey also worked together in a bid to stop the Assad government in Syria. However, the U.S. decision to back Kurdish fighters in recent years has angered the Turkish president and strained relations. Last month,
I want to give you some breaking information. I forgot. It had come to me a few days ago. The U.S. has requested for the Army Reserves 5,000 plus volunteers. Okay? If they don't meet the volunteer quota, they will be ordering U.S. 5,000 more reserves up and ready, and they will be shipping them out overseas. Pay attention. 5,000 more troops overseas. And it was just ordered a week ago. We can change ago. So they put it out as a volunteer. Okay, do you want to volunteer if you are in the reserves? Do you want to sign up, for another tour? we're going over to, and I shared the notice from the Marines about a possible big war coming. Now they've asked 5,000 reservists to go, and it's confirmed, just so you know, this is just 1,000% true. Same person I got, who is the Marine who sent me the Special Forces Marine who sent me the letter that I posted to everybody, and that the same previous letter we went to war in Iraq and Syria right before they got these letters. So 5,000 more. If they don't get the volunteers, I think the deadline is soon. If they don't get the 5,000 volunteers, they're ordering up the reserves, another 5,000 troops to active duty. Why do we need 5,000 more troops? Just saying. Piece it together.
Month, the Turkish leader said the U.S. had provided a huge amount of military support to the Kurdish in Syria. Speaking to a Congress of his ruling AK party, he said allies had provided the YPG Syrian Kurdish military with 2,000 plane loads and 5,000 truckloads of weapons. He said, now apart from 5,000 trucks, there are weapons and ammunition from around 2,000 planes. Despite the threats of attack on U.S. troops, the deputy prime minister has tried to ease concern about military action being taken on American fighters. He said, we are clearly saying that we do not want to confront our ally, the United States. I am sure that they do not want to face Turkey and Turkish armed forces. It goes on further to report that in January, an expert in foreign policy warned that the developing war of words between Turkey and the United States could lead to physical conflict. He said the potential for a much more serious political disagreement, even a clash along the border, given the presence of American trainers in the region. Leadership on both sides need to be careful of the language they use because this can easily inflame an already potentially explosive situation. As the war drums beat loudly between the United States and Turkey, the Times of Israel is reporting that although Benjamin Netanyahu is not seeking war, they will do all they can to defend Israel. The IDF is the strongest army in the Middle East, and thankfully so, because we are facing many challenges, says Benjamin Netanyahu. As I made clear to U.S. President Donald Trump and later to European leaders and to the Russian President Putin, our presence here is the main factor hindering the expansion of radical Islam, led by Iran and Islamic State in the Middle East. Those factions also threat all other entities in the world. We do not seek war, he said, but we will do everything that's needed to defend ourselves. Last week, Netanyahu met with Putin in Moscow to discuss Iranian military entrenchment in the region. The question is, does Iran entrench itself in Syria, or will this process be stopped? If it doesn't stop by itself, we will stop it. We also spoke about Lebanon, which is becoming a factory for precision-guided missiles that threaten Israel. These missiles pose a grave threat to Israel, and we will not accept that threat. And the Jerusalem Post is reporting that Hamas believes war with Israel will break out in the coming days. The terrorist organization, which controls the Gaza Strip, as well as other organizations, declared a shift to the highest level of alert and evacuated most of their command from the facilities in the Palestinian enclave. Hamas also placed police and security forces around the Gaza Strip in fear of an escalation. The report claims a potential war would involve Israel combat units across ground, naval, and air forces. We need to continue to keep a close eye on Israel. I believe that is God's time clock in these last days.
This is serious stuff going on. I forewarned everybody months ago that this would all play out in the Middle East just like this. And it is. To the T. To the T. And it's only going to get worse, and you could see war with Iran and Israel escalate with Hamas, which is backed by Iran. Okay? Which is, most people say, it's backed by Iran. It is Iranian forces with Hamas, but Iran backs them, and Israel accuses them, and you'll see full-blown out war could start any moment there. I mean, I don't know. Looking at the world as a whole, people need to see what's going on and be prepared, because I'm telling you, something big is coming at home here and abroad, and I would say with 90% certainty, unless he's talked out of it, Donald Trump will strike North Korea after the Olympics. I believe he wants to go down in history as the one who took out Kim Jong-un, okay, with that narcissistic ego. Well, someone's got to deal with Kim, but I think there's other ways to do it instead of obliviating North Korea and thus harming South Koreans. China knows it's coming. 300,000 troops? That's a lot of troops. and a lot of hardware. Russia has troops and hardware on its border with North Korea as well, which we reported sometime 6 months ago, with also the S-400 and 500 system of Russia to protect against incoming missiles possibly to Russia. Just remember the Korean War. When we got closer and we got into the heart of North Korea, China invaded North Korea from the back, from the rear, and pushed us all out to the current border we have with South Korea now. Right? Just remember that now. North Korea is not striking anyone, Tim, during the Olympics. Nothing's going to happen in the Olympics. And if it does, it would be a false flag situation. In other words, somebody else created it to blame it on North Korea. Kim is not going to attack South Korea during the U.S. Olympics. Not even close. No reason to. He's got an open dialogue with the South. Not happening. If South Korea is attacked, it's a false flag. Kim has no reason to attack South Korea during the Olympics. None. It's a bullet to his head. That's why it would be a false flag if they did something like, meaning it would be our government to do something like that and blame it on North Korea. You know, you have to remember one thing. Kim may be a dictator, but the man has gone to the best schools, best colleges, everything. He's not stupid. He's not a stupid man. Dictator, yes. Evil, yes. Stupid? No. Not stupid. And there is no logic for him to strike South Korea during the Olympics. None. Nada. Zero. That's a big thing for them. They're hyping this up and doing it. He's deliberately doing this with the Olympics to make him look, make Trump and us look bad, that he can negotiate and speak with South Koreans and be diligent and somewhat show that he is a leader. I'm going to get into some good stuff from Mr. BBB.
Friday, February 9th, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, 2018. Guys, this video is an earthquake watch video. I do maybe 2 or 3 of these a year. It takes a lot of criteria to come into play and at least be observed for a few days before I'll do one of these videos. Historically, I've looked back at pretty much all of the large earthquakes ever recorded, going back hundreds of years, of the 7.0 or larger, and I just took notes of what was going on in the solar system at the time of those events, what the sun was doing, what season it was, where the planets were with respect to Earth, and just a wide variety of criteria. And when I see that same criteria start to form in the future, I can assume that there's a pretty good chance a large earthquake could occur in the future as it did in the past. So look for the potential for a large 7.0 earthquake, possibly multiple earthquakes
just like
of
I
that
said,
magnitude
2018
or greater in the coming days between now and February 20th. Also, earthquakes in diverse places, and I can't emphasize that enough. Wouldn't be surprised if a 2.0 popped up over in France. Just earthquakes in general in diverse places. And another area that I'm keeping an eye on is California. Not a big one, but maybe a moderate earthquake, a 5.0, 5.2-ish in that range. Southern California area, just a possibility. There's always a possibility there because of the fault zones in California. But I'm just saying during this quake watch, possibly a 5.0 in that area. The 7.0, I'm looking at below the equator in South America, around Chile, quite possibly Santiago. But again, that's impossible to tell at this point. But there are a wide variety of factors that are in motion right now as I do this video. So it's a good idea to always have an earthquake plan, no matter where you live on Earth, and make sure that you brush the dust off of your earthquake plan, no matter where you live.
Survival.
Great idea. So once again, this video is a earthquake watch video. Conditions are favorable right now for a large earthquake of 7.0 magnitude or greater between now and the 20th of February at midnight, 2018. Thanks for...
We have to be on a big watch for this type of behavior, planetary behavior, because space conditions in space and with our sun are causing this. It's not just between now and February 20th. All of 2018, you will see major uptake in larger earthquakes and more devastating earthquakes, volcanoes, floods, acute weather in different areas that it shouldn't be, snow in places that it's warm, things of that nature, flooding, acute hurricanes this season, and typhoons. It's only going to get worse.
Thursday, February 8th, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, 2018. Guys, in this video, I want to talk about global water anomalies real quick. I want to talk about the potential
Pay attention for this.
more
Very
water
important.
anomalies in the coming days, possible earthquakes, extreme weather, and unusual sky phenomenon. And I'll explain why. First, you're looking at a map of the known water anomalies that have occurred around planet Earth in the last few months. It's kind of a mystery. Most people that are observing these coastal water retreats especially have never seen them before. And they're either being dismissed as a side effect of supermoon or a coastal wind anomaly that's pulling the water out to sea, or a Cat 5 hurricane, as the case up here in the Bahamas.
Bullshit.
In Florida. The Mississippi River going dry above the New Madrid, still haven't quite, come to even a decent theory on that, but there's several other rivers in North America that have been observed as dry. In fact, I just got a photograph, if not dry, very, very low, of a river that's very low in Shreveport, Louisiana. I just got that a few minutes ago. But our friend over at That's Impossible YouTube channel put together a map, and he asked me to assemble one as well, because I had a few more examples of these occurrences that have happened around the Earth, and here they are. We're looking for patterns. We're trying to understand what's causing this. If there is a pattern, doesn't appear to be. One thing that's unique on this map is up here in Newfoundland, and it's not a water retreat. It's the exact opposite. He has observed this water phenomenon, a man by the name of Philip, since October of 2017. Normally, even under high tide conditions, this dock is not even close to being underwater. However, it has been permanently almost underwater since October of last year, so there's clearly something going on here. And he, being a lifelong resident here, noticed this right away. Normally, there's support posts underneath here that you can see that are 4, maybe 5 feet tall, and he hasn't seen them in months, since October of last year. But as far as a pattern on here, I don't necessarily see one. But most of the cases that involve, witnesses, they've never seen anything like it. So I think it's something unique. I think there is something influencing our planet. Don't know exactly what yet, but I do think there's going to be some influences on our planet in the coming days that could cause earthquakes, water anomalies, and definitely extreme weather. I just want to point out real quick that the earthquakes that occurred in Taiwan, and there were several in the last few days, they began right after the supermoon, full moon of January 31st.
Yep.
Actually, about 48 hours afterwards. I'm not saying that was the cause for these quakes, but I'm just saying that coincidentally, they began right after the supermoon, full moon, and they also began right after Mars crossed this imaginary line. If you were to divide the sun with an imaginary line right down the center of the solar system, when Mars crossed this line, that left Earth over here on the left side of the solar system alone with the moon, and that's it. And let me show you what I've done. I've drawn just a sketch. If you were looking at the solar system from above, and this was the sun in the center, drew a circle around representing the orbits of the planets, and let's say they're 360 degrees, divided in half. Half A is 180 degrees. Part B is 180 degrees. A plus B equals C, 360 degrees. Right after the full moon, supermoon, February 1st, Mars crossed this line right here, and it became part of the B side of the solar system, joining all of the other planets, including Pluto, leaving Earth over here all alone. Then those earthquakes began. Then the moon came out of the full moon phase, and as it reached where it's at today, the earthquakes have subsided. But beginning here, right after the full moon, the earthquakes began, persisted all the way through here, and have eased up today. We will be entering the new moon phase, and that will be putting the moon on the opposite side of the Earth, between the Earth and the Sun, instead of behind the Earth and the Sun. And not only is that unique, which that happens every month, but this time around it's going to happen with all of the planets on the other side of the Sun,
Right.
instead of balanced around throughout the solar system. We like balance. Balance is good. Things function better when they're balanced. It doesn't make any difference what it is. If it's out of balance, then it doesn't typically function that well. That's just the way I perceive solar systems in general. They need balance. And when they're out of balance, things happen. So the moon coming around now to complete this circuit, if you will, between the Earth and the Sun, look for things to happen. Look for extreme weather in the coming days on planet Earth. Look for water anomalies on planet Earth, whether they be river, freshwater, coastal, saltwater. Look for them. If you see any, by all means, take pictures if it's not an inconvenience, and send us an email to reports@mrmbb333.com. Greatly appreciate it. Here's the gas giants as of today, February the 8th, and you can see they are all over here, positioned nice and neatly on the right-hand side of the Sun, including Pluto. This is what it's going to look like on March the 7th. Mercury is going to break the line, come back over and join Earth for a while. Venus will follow, creating a sense of balance again, only to occur once again this summer with every single planet being on the right-hand side of the Sun, trying to share 180 degrees of a 360-degree circle. And the moon will be phasing, just like it did then, or just like it is now, it will then. So when the moon goes into the new phase, just like it came out of the full phase, look for things to intensify. I'm just saying that they could. This is just a theory that I have, and it's something I've been watching for a long, long time. This situation, however, when the planets are all on one side of the Sun, it's kind of unique. It's rare. It doesn't happen very often. And so is this situation here. So it's going to be a learning experience, and we'll just have to keep a close eye on what does happen, if anything. But tonight, tomorrow, and the next night, pretty good chance of some possible spectacular meteors in the atmosphere in the days ahead, especially as we get close to the new moon phase. Watch for extreme weather phenomenon around the globe, water anomalies, and most certainly earthquakes. And I look forward to receiving pictures from you guys. And you can send them to reports@mrmbb333.com. Those come directly to me. And honestly, I look forward to opening them. They're awesome pictures, and you guys have an excellent eye for detail of the ever-popular sky candy. Every once in a while, something really cool will come up, and if we have our cameras ready, we can get it. I know I've seen a lot of things when I didn't have my camera ready and wish I did. But
Just
thanks
wait
again. Keep them coming. And the library is growing, and it's full of really cool pictures from all around the world. These next pictures.
Here we go. I'm going to blow them up.
I've been saving these for a couple of days. They're from Wendy Wagner, PhD. And Wendy, I have a strong feeling that she has something to offer.
Look at this cloud formation. I don't think it's a cloud formation at all. Okay? And when you see the rest that this woman took from New Mexico, it's going to blow your mind. Okay? These are serious photos. And wait till you see
community. A lot of people, I think she could help. So these are photos that she sent to me from New Mexico. and they are going straight into the photo gallery, but I wanted to share them with you. They are really some kind of cool. Look at that. That's from...
Look at this thing. Look at this. Amazing. Okay? And where do you see the next ones? Over the same mountain range. They look like ships. Just wait.
From New Mexico, taken by Wendy Wagner. That's something that National Geographic would probably want on the cover of their magazine.
Look at this. Look at that. That looks like the nose of a ship, the whole thing. And now watch the next one that comes. It looks just like a hidden spaceship. Now wait till the next photo that comes into play from this lady. And she's a credible source. She's a credible source. Now
cool
watch.
Picture there.
Look at this.
Looks like a flying saucer.
Look at that. What is that? What is that? That looks like a perfect flying saucer. The next one is even more bizarre. Okay? And this lady's got a PhD. I've checked her website out. She's credible. Everything. These photos are real. They're not photoshopped. Okay? And I know Mr. BB wouldn't put them on there either. So now watch. Wait till the next one. Look at this.
New Mexico. That looks...
Look at that.
Like an interstellar spaceship for...
Look at that. If that's not a spaceship, and the nose and the whole length of it cloaked out, what is that? That is amazing. That is just simply stunning. Like, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Amazing.
Space travel, really cool stuff. And again, this is from New Mexico, just right next door to me.
All from New Mexico.
Colorful skies, very cool pictures.
We're definitely not alone here. It looks like something from Star Wars. You got that right. And just think about this. As I believe we are moving into a different dimension and thus a different frequency. And we are moving in, the frequencies have changed. So what that means is humans are going to start to see things that they've never seen before in our skies and with our planets and our sun and things of that. Okay? And they use frequency to cloak these devices. It's very simple, actually. You just energize the outside of a vehicle, a ship, and it becomes cloaked because you cannot see via frequency. So we are switching to another dimension, the fourth dimension, actually. And the frequencies have changed on the planet that we have shared before and are increasing. He's got a lot of good stuff the past few days.
4 a.m. Mountain Time, 2018. Story here coming out of the National Geographic yesterday evening, around 10 hours ago. More than 1 trillion planets could exist beyond our galaxy. A new study gives first evidence that exoplanets exist beyond the Milky Way. Written by Elena Zakos. Scientists have long been unable to find exoplanets, planets outside the solar system, beyond the confines of the Milky Way. After all, our galaxy is a warped disk about 100,000 light years across and 1,000 light years thick, so it's incredibly difficult to see beyond that. But now, a new study is saying there could be extragalactic exoplanets. The study, published February 2nd in the Astrophysical Journal Letters. That article was here at the Daily Report on February 2nd, the day that it came out. It was just a little more complicated to understand. Beyond our galaxy, using information from NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory and a planet detection technique called microlensing to study a distant quasar galaxy. Scientists at the University of Oklahoma found evidence that there are approximately 2,000 extragalactic planets for every one star beyond the Milky Way. Some of these exoplanets are relatively small as the Moon, while others are as big as Jupiter. Unlike Earth, most of the exoplanets are not tightly bound to stars, so they're actually wandering through space or loosely orbiting between stars. We can estimate that the number of planets in this faraway galaxy is more than 1 trillion. says
Wow.
Zenu Dai, the astronomy and astrophysics professor who led the study. This image here is one of the first microlensing images that highlights the possibility of exoplanets beyond the Milky Way. And it sure does look like it. This would be the star. This would be the exoplanets that you see. Microlensing works like magnification, says co-author Eduardo Guerreras. It's a highly nuanced process that looks at frequencies emitted by moving celestial objects, meant to observe how they distort and magnify light that comes from the objects near them. This light then illuminates things that aren't otherwise visible. The microlensing is amplifying something that is very small, changing colors, which makes no sense. Or it's amplifying a small region or a bigger object. And that object has different colors. Since these objects are so distant, the extragalactic bodies are some 3.8 billion years away. Microlensing is the only way to get a sense of their shape. The researchers know they're looking at planets because of the speed at which they're moving. You can have this effect with stars, but it would be much, much less likely. It would be way less frequent. If you have only one planet, the chances of observing it twice is astronomically small. In search of exoplanets. Considering the scale, detecting exoplanets can be tricky. Directly viewing exoplanets within the Milky Way is nearly impossible, so astrophysicists have to sift through data and use other detection techniques that give evidence of planet signatures. I'm going to stop there for just a minute. I was a member, and still am, a member of the Planet Hunters. We hunted for exoplanets using Kepler data, and it was very tedious. We looked for shadows that transited across the surface of a star. And it was very exciting at first, but it's extremely boring. You're sitting looking for little tiny shadows going across stars. If you would see the same shadow twice, you could submit that data for the possibility of it being cataloged as an exoplanet. So it was rather interesting, to say the least, but I'm still a member. I just haven't done it in quite a while. Back to the story. Considering the scale, detecting exoplanets can be tricky. Yes, it can. Directly viewing exoplanets within the Milky Way is nearly impossible. So astrophysicists have to sift through data and use other detection techniques that give evidence of planet signatures. Normally, it takes multiple methods to confirm if there is actually an exoplanet out there. In some cases, detections have turned out to be false positives. That's very true. These stars are really far away. There's no way you can observe them by any traditional means. The researchers are hoping that with the publication of their study, other scientists will pick up the data and develop other techniques to verify whether or not these extragalactic planets exist. We hope other teams publish independent analysis to confirm our findings, Dye says. I think this is a case where scientific discoveries can be triggered by the spark of ideas. Extra on exoplanets.
We are not alone. There's many other Earths, many other solar systems, and many other galaxies. And I'm sure you can simply warp right to them through, we'll say, a black hole and transfer from one side, one dimension to the other. I'm sure that there are much more intelligent beings than humans even in our galaxy possibly, and even outside of our galaxy for sure. And I'm sure there's many species of aliens on this planet as well that we just haven't, we don't know it. Remember, everything that we've been taught and told is basically, for our own purpose, for them their own purpose to control us, meaning world governments and things of that nature. So I fully believe we're not alone even here. Fold space and time. That's correct, Damon. It's just like a piece of paper, and you fold that sheet just like so, and then that's exactly how it works. You just fold space and time, just like that.
Sky phenomenon. Here at strangesounds.org. That's not the sun we're looking at. That's actually the moon. Rare moon dogs light up Winnipeg, southern Manitoba, a day after the supermoon full moon of January 31st. So this would have been Thursday morning, very early, as the moon was setting in the western sky from Winnipeg. You can see it's got a diamond-shaped appearance to it. That's a phenomenon created by diamond dust, basically dust particles in the sky. We're seeing a lot of hexagonal suns lately, too, in photographs and video. So it's not uncommon to see diamond-shaped, this is actually the moon, but to see diamond-shaped moons or suns. Here's the sun. So they had a spectacular morning on Thursday morning. The moon went down with a full halo, dual sundogs, and then when the sun came up, the same phenomenon occurred in the eastern sky.
There's some serious shit going on here. Okay. You can see the large sundog, if you want to call it, right there around that outside area. This diamond I don't believe is caused by dust at all. Okay? Sundogs are caused by ice crystals and the like. However, we've been having more and more of these anomalies going on with our sun and our moon, creating this effect, and I believe it's a sun simulator causing this effect. These are very bizarre, and he's not correct on what he's saying, that this is a common thing. This is not common. Sundogs may be common, but not like this.
Spectacular morning in Winnipeg, Thursday morning. Sky phenomenon came one day after the full moon, supermoon eclipse. So very cool photographs coming out of Winnipeg. I'll post the link in the description box if you guys would.
Looks like two suns, one on one side, one on the other. That's what it looks like. There's no way that this is a sundog. I'm sorry to tell you all, it's just not. It's not happening. That's not what that is.
Would like to check it out further. Speaking of tower, the skyscraper in Dubai, here are some of the photographs that were taken, and you can see she wasn't the only person intrigued by the sunset. This is the sunset. This would be looking west from
suns right
top
there.
Of that skyscraper, actually near the top. It's 160 stories. The photograph was taken from, or the photographs, from 125 floors up. Photograph here, another photograph here of people checking out what appears to be a dual sunset from Dubai. This is the amazing structure here. The 125th floor is, I think, right in this area here. And it's looking right at the incredible sunset. Again, this was taken back in October of 2017 on October 16th. Right there it is, and here's one more. Looks like maybe this was one of the early pictures when it was just starting. I don't know any other thing about it than when it was taken and where it was taken. It was taken by a young lady by the name of Elizabeth from Dubai. So very cool. And when it was taken and where it was.
I'm going to zoom in on that for everybody because I want you to see this. Boom. There you go. I'm telling you now. In the back is the real sun. In the front is the sun simulator. I'm telling you now. This is what's going on here. Or there's two suns. One's ours in the back, or one's the front with the sun simulator. Another planetary or sun object in the behind it. Now you can see. Okay. Now you can see what they are seeing. Awesome picture. And people think everything's okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'll let you know when, it's not okay. Things are not normal anymore, and I'm telling you, we are shifting. Could be a stellar core, but that would be an awful big stellar core. That would be an awful, awful big stellar core. Understand how many millions of miles away the sun is and the size of the sun compared to us, and thus that object with the sun right there. It's way too big for it to be some small stellar core. And if it's a large stellar core, then it's nemesis. It is our sun's binary twin, if that's what that is. It's too big not to be. It cannot just be some small object. I think what you're looking at is, since this is October, that this is the binary twin and our sun together. Meaning, it looks like it's together, but it's not together. I think it's the sun's binary twin peeking out, and like I said, they can be very far apart. Okay, in other words, just because they're in line with one another at the moment and separated a little bit doesn't mean that they're stuck together. They could be very, very far apart.
February 6th, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 2018. Guys, as you probably already know by now, a very strong and shallow 6.4 earthquake struck in Taiwan today, creating major damage. Buildings collapsed. Not a pretty scene by any stretch of the imagination. When I started seeing these photographs come in from the Taiwan area, it was as if I'd already seen these before, and I felt like I'd already done a video about this earthquake. 6.4, Taiwan, in February. And I was like, no, I haven't done a video about this event yet.
Pay attention.
And you guys have all heard of deja vu. Deja vu is basically you get the feeling that the situation currently being experienced has already been experienced in the past. The phrase comes from French, literally meaning already seen. So I'm looking at this 6.4 quake. It's Taiwan, major damage. And as you can see, buildings leaning over to the side. And I'm like, wait a minute. I did do a video about a 6.4 earthquake in February. Buildings collapsed in Taiwan. February 5th, on my other YouTube channel, Urban Recon. February 5th of 2016. Literally 2 years ago, within 24 hours of the exact day, nearly the exact location. I was like, what? It was like history was repeating itself. And here's the video that I did in 2016 on my Urban Recon YouTube channel. And you can see the buildings collapsed. There are ladders, extension ladders going up into windows, trying to rescue people
Very
that
bizarre.
unfortunately were trapped inside the buildings.
Look at
And
the
it's
photos.
the same scenario with this earthquake. Buildings collapsed. In these videos here at watchers.news, you will see ladders extended up into buildings, into the windows, people trying to get in to search for survivors. Very sad. We do not like to see this at all. But earthquakes have been very persistent in Taiwan for the last 2 or 3 days. In fact, there's a cluster right off of the coast, and this one here was on the coast. That's why it created so much damage. And it was also very shallow. But all of this kind of took place a day or two after the supermoon, full moon. But just a weird experience. When I saw that, I couldn't believe once I finally connected the dots as to where have I seen this earthquake? And sure enough, a 6.4 happened.
Exact
Literally
same earthquake.
2 years to the day, within 23 hours of the day, in the same nearly exact location within 100 miles, a 6.4 that took down buildings in 2016, February 5th, February 6th of 2018, a 6.4 took down buildings, multiple buildings in Taiwan. I mean, the odds of that happening, I think, are just simply astronomical.
I think that I found that to be one of the most strangest things yet from this Taiwan quake. I mean, same magnitude, same magnitude, same situation, same everything, same time frame within 24 hours of each other, i.e. the supermoon Very weird. Very, very weird. Like we live in the Matrix and a computer-created world. Just very bizarre. Very, very bizarre. Something to think about. Very bizarre. Same location, same depth, same quake, strength. Very bizarre. Just very bizarre. Nothing phases me anymore. Nothing phases me anymore, and I know as we continue to move and change our frequency and move into another dimension and basically shift, more and more things are going to become very apparent to many. And we will be able to see more things, hear more things, even, everything's changing, and it's changing very rapidly. No, he's not declassifying the Dems memo, and if he does, it'll be totally redacted, and he knows it will show proof that his memo is shit, okay? That Nunes memo is shit. This is the non-bipartisanship that's going on, and the control by the White House. And as I said throughout the show and in the beginning, Congress at the Capitol, they are planning and looks like they're going to be putting a dividing wall up for the first time, a plexiglass wall between the Dem side and the Republican side for people's safety and not to argue, to prevent arguments and attacks on the Democrats and the Republicans on the Democrats for the first time ever. Right? And that's via a source. And I'm telling you, it's true. Whether they do it or not, I don't know, but it's that's what they're discussing right now. Just that they're discussing that right now to put up a divider between, and this is what you think that America should be, divided? That we have to have plexiglass and a wall put between Democrats and Republicans so they don't hurt each other or attack each other? What kind of country have we turned into? We've turned into I don't even want to say it. We have turned into that of almost a communist type regime. One man in control at the top. That's how Russia is. Anybody gets in the way, take them out. Anybody gets in the way, take them out. If it's the FBI, if it's the CIA, if it's Congress, if it's senators, take them out. Cause division, and things like that. Banana Republic, as Terry says, yes. This is dangerous. People need to understand what's happening here. This is dangerous. Dangerous ground. This is dangerous ground. As corrupt as we were before Donald Trump got in, we're not only corrupt now, but we're corrupt and acutely divided, and the hatred is growing, and the division amongst good American people is growing. And people will just fight to the death for this garbage. Garbage. Over a memo. If it's not a memo, it's the Rob Porter scandal and Trump sticking up for him. He's a great guy, great employee. The guy beats his wives. And, you knew about it. Kelly knew about it. And you covered it up. What does that say about the mindset and the intent of this White House? The same thing they're doing with the Russia investigation. Same thing they're doing with anything that they want to get out of their way. And I don't care what anyone said. This is going to hurt the Republican Party and Trump with voters, with women, and rightfully so. I mean, this is a man who defends, domestic abuse. He demands it. It's inexcusable behavior. Totally inexcusable behavior. And that's what I keep telling everybody. This country is losing its morals and its values. Most importantly. And then he stands up there and goes, "In God we trust," and all this crap for his angelical crap. The man lies so much it's pathetic. You can't even keep up with his lies. And you can't keep up with one day he's doing this, the next day he's doing that. Next day he's doing this, next day he's doing that. I mean, for real. For real. And if you think that the stock market, just wait. I just showed you earlier about China. The petrodollar, okay? with the yen starting in March. People have no idea how bad things are going to get. And I have to say, I'm very curious, even my sources I've talked to, Mueller has shut up. Meaning, in other words, anybody who has any access to that, there's something going on. And I have to say, it's time, if he's got what he says he has and what people are saying he does, it's time to bring this shit to the fold and bring it out and get it over with. For both sides. Same thing, you know, with investigating Uranium One and Obama and all this. It all needs to come to fruition like ASAP. This country needs to end this crap on both sides. It's just, the division is horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. But I will say this. The Democrats, they come together. They come together. I've watched them. You should see what's going on of how much money they have raised, just individual people, to put up billboards in districts to get the Democratic vote, to get people out in the street to talk to people to get the Democratic vote in many districts. And I'm going to predict something right now. I will predict in 2018 the Dems will take back the House. Pay attention. And I believe the first order of business they will go into is to impeach Donald Trump. Even though several have already raised impeachment process against Donald Trump, I'm talking about it going heavy duty. And I fully predict if the elections are not fixed, somehow, some way, not fixed, you will see the Democrats take control in 2018, and it's going to be a nightmare thereafter for Trump. Just saying. We're in 7 years of tribulation, and that's what I fully believe, and that's where you're going to see all the planetary changes. You're going to see wars. You're going to see, and I'm almost positive you'll see nuclear war somewhere in this 7-year window, sadly. It's not going to be a long nuclear war, but it's going to be quick, and it's going to do what damage it's got to do. This is not a good, this is just so much stuff happening that people just don't want to pay attention. Many do not want to pay attention to it. Instead, they'll fight on Twitter. And everybody is being controlled by Facebook, Twitter, things of that nature. And that's why I sort of stay out of these news feeds on Facebook. I'll share you guys things. I'll share stuff to Twitter, whatever. But I've been staying away from the bullshit. I don't want it. I don't even want to see it. When I research news, I know where to go to. We get it right, from other sources. Yes, I would not touch bonds, by the way. I would stay out of the bond market as well. You need to buy and invest in other things outside of this market. Gold, silver, stored in your own safe, real estate, other investments that are safe. The bond market, I know, is always a haven for everybody, but the problem with the bond market is that it's inflated too. Okay? And I keep trying to tell everybody, you have to look at the underlying big problem here that's coming. The big problem is that the dollar's value is going to tank, and it tanked 10% last year. I guarantee you'll see it tank 10 plus more at least this year, especially with China stopping trading with starting to trade with in the yen for the for oil. Okay, it's shifting. The pendulum on this planet of control and superpower, you want to call it, is shifting to China. China is the financial superpower. And they have the gold in their vaults. They own the mines. They own the silver mines, gold mines, everything. And the gold is in their vaults. And that's how they can back their money with gold out of their own World Bank. They just told the Rothschilds and everyone else that's out there that controls the banking, the banking cartel, this. They said, you're not going to control us. Just like they did with the internet. Nope, we don't want your internet in our country. We'll build our own. They said it couldn't be done. They did. Billions of dollars later, they have their own internet that's not hackable. They are the superpower, and their military is growing by the day. And now we're in great tariff war with them, with Donald Trump. No, Randy, this is not going to be easy. I agree with you. This is a lot of work, and that's why I tell everybody. And I want to thank some people who recently made some donations to MFA at givetomfa.com. Marson, a dear friend of mine, he's always trying to donate and help. Many people are helping. We have new board members that have just come on in the past 24 hours as well. This is a lot of work, and it costs a lot of money, and we're trying to do it on the best budget we can, and many are helping. We have a great web developer. She's helping. We have good coders now and things of that nature, and we build things the right way here. So they take a little longer, I apologize. But when they're done, they're good and they're nice and they're sound. So, again, I want to thank everybody for all your support, your comments, your emails to me, our incredible officers and board, and those who are on this great organization for what we're making it to be, and all the volunteers who take their time out for the state pages, for our main pages, things of that nature. We are a team here, and that team we want to expand and grow bigger. And I mean by a team, we're a family. MFA, I want thousands and thousands of people as part of this organization, as a team around the world, not just in the United States. And many have come forward from other countries offering to open up MFA in that country as well, and to do that, which is wonderful. The more truth and more information we can put out there, the better. I want to be doing more news shows. I'm getting to the point where I'm wrapping up a lot of corporate stuff that I've been working on. So I will be able to do more news shows for you. The MFA TV channel will be up, and the news channel will be up as well. So that bothers me, because I want to do more news. I want to bring more investigative stories. I want to deal with survival group, and I want to start building on Atlas. And we will do Atlas, believe me. I love what Randy's saying, and we're going to use that as well. MFA, Seekers of Truth, Finders of Fact. We're going to be using that on our website, and quote. I love that quote, and thank you, Randy. All these things take money, time, and a lot of work when you really go into the guts of building a very good, solid corporate organization. We just don't slap stuff up and throw it out there and I just won't do it. I know, exactly. No, survival group is not, only if you are an officer or a board member are you put into survival group. Survival group is a separate entity altogether. It's a separate corporation than that. Okay? It's totally separate. And it comes, like I said, you can check it out at mfamembers.com. You just go to the memberships at the top. You can see all about survival group there. Thank you, John. I appreciate your offer for help. A lot of people offering to help. And if we don't get back to you right away, we know that you are on a list for us to contact you. I'm hiring more people. I've been interviewing people as well while I've been here in Las Vegas. We had to deal with this hater situation. We had to file a case. We had to deal with all that. I mean, we're 13 months old, and we've had to deal with all of these things. We just saved $1.5 million on the property in Kansas for Atlas, to go to Atlas 2 instead of Atlas 1, so that we can start construction almost very shortly, and things of that nature. So a lot of things, in business and in life, things change, but things always work out for the best. I find that, if God starts to close a door on something, meaning, say you're working on something and the doors start to close and it's not working out, then that means it's not right. So I've learned to follow my instincts with that and listen to God and say, okay, no, let's do this. And it always works out for the better. It just always seems to work out for the better. I remember when I was, a builder and taking on very big contracts, I used to fight to get those very expensive contracts, and I would even reduce my price somewhat or a lot to get the project, and it turned out to be a nightmare when, in fact, if I would have turned away the project, God opened up another door and I got a better project. So I follow with what I'm being shown and sent. You want to call it from the universe or from God, whatever you want to say. And I know a lot of our officers and members are the same way, board member. All right, guys. God bless. Good night. Love you. She's coming in now.